Hi, we're Group IO32 and we're presenting a case study of Lincoln Center in New York City and how they're using placemaking techniques and local engagement efforts to build a more inclusive, accessible future. So Lincoln Center began as an urban regeneration project on a massive scale. It was designed to combine multiple art forms, ballet, opera and theatre in one holistic cultural district, making it the first combined performing arts centre in the US. However, its development is rooted in racism and exclusion. One of New York's most diverse communities at the time, San Juan Hill, was demolished in its entirety to facilitate its development. Since its inception, the centre has undergone several changes and developments aimed at making it more open and accessible to the public. This facelift, combined with initiatives aimed at reckoning with the centre's history, look to make its future more inclusive and less alienating. Located in the Upper West Side of Manhattan, the centre is a behemoth complex that spans more than 16 acres and was historically cut off from the rest of the city. When it was designed, it was believed that most people would access it by car. These images illustrate some of the issues with the original site: dark underpasses, bollards that block the entrances, and closed-off facades. One immediate issue that the new architects resolved was transparency. By making the buildings quite literally more transparent by adding glass, they helped make the programming more physically visible, as well as demystifying what was going on inside the buildings. The architects also introduced open green spaces to the centre to encourage passers-by to dwell and make the area more public-friendly. The lawn in these images is the roof of a new restaurant that doubles as a public picnic and seating area. Additionally, a fountain facelift breathed new life into the space and created a focal gathering point. As part of their ongoing work to democratise access and encourage public engagement, as well as help invigorate New York's cultural offering post-COVID, in the summer of 2021, Lincoln Center embarked on an outdoor programme called Restart Stages. The programme engaged a diverse range of partners, including the Bronx Academy of Art and Dance, the Caribbean Cultural Center, African Diaspora Institute, Harlem Arts Alliance, and Korean Cultural Center New York. The project also kicked off a civic partnership initiative with graduations, blood donation, a public outdoor reading room, and polling booths all featured.
The Lincoln Center is home to world-renowned performing arts institutions, such as the Metropolitan Opera, the Juilliard School, and the New York City Ballet. These are stereotypically highbrow institutions that would normally engage those audiences with a higher income. In fact, the Upper West Side of New York, where the center is located, has an average GDP exceeding 200,000 US dollars per annum. In a report done by the Harvard Business School, they found that in 2002, 18 to 44-year-olds were not attending traditional arts programs. And by 2010, the traditional audience of 45 to 55-year-olds was also dropping. What the Harvard Business School report noticed was that by 2010, funding came predominantly from contributors and memberships, totaling around 35 million. The leadership at the Lincoln Center decided to try and attract new donors without alienating their established audiences, who were interested in the more traditional classical arts. They managed to attract new sponsorship from companies such as Google, Amex, and the Walt Disney Company. In recent times, there have been a renewed effort to attract new audiences, including more diversity in programming that attracts all ages, ethnicities, and backgrounds, while also appeasing the more traditional audiences, combining their roots in classical arts, such as opera, ballet, and the symphony orchestra, with engagement with cultural movements such as Black Lives Matter. Furthermore, the center opened its programming to audiences online, as many cultural institutions did during the pandemic, including many performances and conversations that are publicly available and free of charge. The center's online presence has also been key to their attempts to engage a broader, more diverse audience. With a follower base that exceeds 200,000 and a presence on all major social media platforms, including Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. In recent years, the center has successfully developed a style of content creation on their social media accounts that is both informative and their programming and engages directly with their audience. An example being the duck post in the image which captures a natural moment where a duck flew into the reflecting pond. The center also makes great use of all features of its social media platforms, including highlights, stories, reels, and Linktree, as well as the buttons, adding a donate button to provide an easy means for their audience to directly support their work. Funding streams and a diverse donation portfolio have also been important to this work. Diverse funders allow for a range of fund perspectives and goals that can, in many cases, support a broader range of programming. Lincoln Center accepts institutional, individual, and government funding. The center also has self-generated income streams, including memberships, merchandise, and the ability for people and organizations to rent venue spaces. They have also set down a Lincoln Center for the Performing Arts gift acceptance policy to govern the acceptance of charitable gifts to the LCPA so that they can ensure compliance with policy and relevant laws.
So, while the effort is clear, is it enough? The organisations that Lincoln Centre was built to host are historically undiverse and remain so even now. In 2012, 80% of ballet audiences in the US were white. US orchestras are composed of, on average, 85% white players. Since its founding in 1880, the Met has staged more than 300 operas, but didn't present work by a black composer until September of 2021. The centre currently has not announced plans to house more diverse-led organisations on a more permanent basis, nor any other long-term initiatives aimed at inclusivity, such as artist fellowships. What's more, critics of the time, and even the centre's former president, agree that the building was specifically structured to keep out those poorer communities still living in the area, with the open eastern edge in stark contrast with the high concrete wall that still stands on the western side. So even with all these improvements, how open can they really claim to be? The current president of Lincoln Center was recently quoted as saying, "In order to move forward as a more inclusive and just institution, we should start at our roots. That means engaging with the origin story of Lincoln Center's development in its full truth." The development of Lincoln Center involved the demolition of the entire community of San Juan Hill, displacing more than 7,000 residents and closing 800 businesses. Now, the centre's leadership is searching for meaningful ways to engage with its racist, exclusionary history and the pain caused to former residents and their descendants. They're working with artists, technologists, social justice advocates, and former residents of the area to provide an accurate documentation of the centre's origins, make their archives available for research and artistic practice, and bring the story of San Juan Hill to life using augmented reality to tell the stories of those who called it home. While Lincoln Center is certainly not alone in coming to this reckoning only in recent years, many arts and cultural organisations are now revisiting and reassessing their origins. They have long known about how the centre was developed and have before now failed to examine this in any capacity, artistic or otherwise. And again, the question of embedding or permanence remains. Much of what has been announced so far in regard to the centre's recognition of its history is attached to programming or to artistic endeavour. While they confirm they expect the work to be ongoing, and it would be unreasonable to expect an entire confirmed programme at this stage, it remains to be seen if these are time-limited projects or represent true ongoing engagement. The Centre also has a publicly available ongoing commitment to change, an important approach that at least tries for true transparency and accountability. However, reading the commitment, it feels more institution-focused than aimed at its audience. A more public-friendly version, perhaps with regular short-form updates provided by email or social media, would assist the Centre in communicating these changes as it looks to its more inclusive future. Thank you.